Earlier this morning, the NFIB released its Small Business Optimism Index for the month of January. According to the data, optimism remains above its 52-year average, despite a small pullback in January. Joining me now is Peter Hansen. He is the Director of Research and Policy Analysis for the NFIB. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So what should investors be taking away from this report?
It's really a quiet report, especially when you look at that top line optimism index, 99.3 after 99.5 last month. That's essentially flat. We're still just a little bit over a point above the long-term average, which is telling us that the economy, at least for small businesses, is healthy. It's not super strong. We'd love to be farther above our long-term average than just that 1.5 point range where we're in. But what they're telling us is that they're feeling decent to start the year.
All right, and where do you see optimism rising the most and the least with small business owners?
So our optimism index is a kind of composite of 10 different components, and 9 out of 10 of these were really quiet. In fact, 7 of them just like slightly ticked downwards. 2 of them ticked upwards just a little bit. The one change is actually a category that I really like seeing a positive movement in. That's sales expectations. That moved up 6 points. Now counterbalanced by the fact that that 7 out of 10 categories ticked down really slightly. But that's one key area within the index that moved up a lot, that sales expectations for the next 3 months. A nice positive note within the kind of overall flat optimism index.
In January, 18% of small business owners reported taxes as their single most important problem. What is the signal for other, perhaps less consistent issues?
Right. For me, when I see taxes at the top of the list, I think the right takeaway is that the other issues are actually in pretty good shape. So for a lot of the last 5 years, we were talking about inflation, we were talking about labor quality. The fact that taxes super consistent, you're paying very similar rates year to year, even as maybe some of your own earnings liabilities, earnings change your liabilities. So with taxes now above those in this month and last month, that's telling you that these issues are, not entirely in the background. Labor quality still 16%. Inflation still a bit of a thorn in the side of small businesses. But it's good news. And I would add another one in there. Poor sales is the biggest concern within all, I think, of the list of issues. You really don't want that kind of recession indicator, poor sales. So that's another example of an inconsistent issue that we'd love seeing farther down the list. Taxes being at the top of the list, it's really not overall bad news, because we know what that's telling us is some of the less consistent issues that have been huge issues are really not huge issues right now, even if they still are a problem.
And Peter, how do you gather this data?
So each month we reach out to a sample of our 300,000 small business members all across the country. Comprehensive survey that we give them to try to collect as high quality data on this super important slice of the economy. Actually, small businesses aren't singled out in a lot of government data. So there's not a lot of ways for us, for policymakers, for investors to really understand what's happening with this slice. So we kind of do our best to represent them through this really high quality survey that we run throughout the month to give this data.
And based on the data, do you expect small business optimism to climb or slip over the next several months?
So one little, I'd say, slightly disappointing detail in the report was that our uncertainty index, kind of saying like people who don't know which direction the needle is pointing, ticked up in January. And that's really telling us that it's hard to say which way the needle is pointing. 2025 was a historically high year. December was the lowest point, and then we ticked back up with January. So I think there's a lot riding on certain policy decisions. Can we have certainty going forward? If things are really stable, I think you can expect good positive movement on optimism, if there's more kind of disruption with the market, more reasons for businesses to think, I don't know what's going on, I feel uncomfortable planning, then you might be worried about the needle pointing the other direction. I feel optimistic, but it's such an important factor that businesses need to have confidence before we start to see that optimism increase from where it is right now.
All right, thanks, Peter Hansen, Director of Research and Policy Analysis for the NFIB.
Thank you.